Hello everybody and welcome back to the Sammy Snake Racing YouTube channel. Today's video we are going to be doing Daily Race C. Yes, I know Daily Race C has been a bit of a rinse and repeat this week for the daily races, but let's try and take the positives from this situation. It is a fun combination. It is GR3 cars around Deep Forest Raceway, 12 laps. You have to use medium and hard tyres. So there's an element of strategy and there's a whole variety of different cars that are viable since the BOP update. Now, in this race, we head over to our American account, and even though we qualified in first, we drop to the back and see if we can't make the most of this custom slipstream to try and fight through the field and get a decent result. All I'll say is it came down to the very home straight and it was an extremely close finish to see whether we could get a really good result. So without further ado, let's jump in and see how the race unfolded. So if you take a look at the lobby, we can see there's some A+ drivers in 2nd, 5th, 11th and 12th. Now these drivers are very much going to come into action in this race as it unfolds. So yeah, I'll say no more, but we'll see how the race pans out. But before we started, I did look at the field and I thought, right, there's a couple of guys who haven't set a qualifying lap and have decided to go to the back, so perhaps they would be our main competition. But either way, we were going to find out and do our very best. Now the main objective when I do these last to first challenges is to kind of try and avoid the trouble, the carnage that will inevitably happen throughout the race. Try and stay close to the field, but also be aware that some of the back runners may not be as fast. So keep your distance, brake a little bit earlier and try and set up overtakes by getting good exits out of corners. So here's a prime example. I brake early. I see that one driver makes a mistake, Danny C, loses his exit speed, so then I get on the gas nice and early down the inside, and there we have it. We've got 2 spaces made up. Now, the next thing that I always have to be aware of is people perhaps missing their braking points, and particularly with custom slipstream on this race, this is very much something I'm aware of here. And we see Danny C just misses braking point. He tries to miss people, and unfortunately there is contact and we end up losing a position there. But because we were aware, you know, the damage was minimized. We just stayed wide, and we just get our head down. There's somebody with a penalty in front of us, so hopefully we'll get that, or we'll be able to make an overtake with the extreme slipstream. We're doing nearly 170 mile an hour coming down here. I brake early. I noticed that a couple of drivers go deep, so I try and get down the inside. The Corvette, I believe, just loses the back end a little bit. Now, looking back, I'm not sure whether I should have waited for him there. I thought he lost the back end, and I presumed it wasn't me. I'm not 100% sure looking back now, and I did continue. He didn't say anything after the race, so I think we were all right. But yeah, you can see lots of carnage kicking off in front of us. We're managing to make a few spaces. Side by side through that corner never ends well. And unfortunately, P9 hits the wall. There's nowhere we can go. We hit him, pick up damage, lose a space to P10, who was one of the A+ drivers in the lobby. So what I decided to do here is just sit in his slipstream, try and stay nice and close. Hopefully he can drag me along and save me from being overtaken as I'm losing straight line speed. Now what you'll see here is coming up to this braking zone, I brake very early, lift off and then start braking again to make sure that I don't hit the car in front. That's something I would advise you to do in this race this week with custom slipstream. Brake early, and then let off the brakes to make sure you stay close to the driver in front, and then brake again. It's a very easy way to save having any incidents. So that would be my top tip for this race this week. Just managed to use advantage of that slipstream, get down the inside, and we're now in 9th position, just at the beginning of lap 3. Now find ourselves with some clean air where we can start to try and put some good lap times in. There's 2.5 seconds to the cars in front. Now what I'm trying to do here is be as smooth as I can, as fast as I can, and try and get into that slipstream. The slipstream starts at about 1.6 seconds. You'll see I got a better exit off that corner, but coming down the straight, because P8 is sat in the slipstream, it pulls away. And we'll see again on this hairpin. So there was 2.2 seconds, I think, there. That was the gap. We come out of this corner, we get a better drive out of that corner. It's at about, I can't read it actually now, but we'll see the delta going up all the way down this straight, and we're losing out on the straight. So we need to be as fast as we can on the infield to try and close this gap up. I'm watching the delta, I'm watching the Carnage in front. I can see that they're battling. That's good for us, because as long as we stay consistent, keep the clean air, we're pulling away from P10 behind us, and yeah, everything's working out well. We've got about 8.9 seconds to the leader. I'm not sure what tyre the leader is on at the moment. I'm hoping they're on mediums, so we're gonna get a good opportunity towards the end of the race to catch up. They've done a 1:27.7, so that could be hards, but it could easily be mediums as well. We've now managed to close the gap down to 1.7, 1.6 seconds. We're just starting to eat into that slipstream. We're just not in the strong point of it. As you can see, we're losing out on the straights. It goes back up to 1.7, probably 1.8 by the end of this straight. There's still more carnage happening in front of us. We're just focusing on getting a good drive out of this corner. It comes back down to, well, I think 1.7 again, but we're going to lose out all the way down the straight. You can see there's bumping, there's grinding of the cars. I'm just hoping that we manage to catch up to them, and that these guys are on mediums, and perhaps we can overtake them indirectly. If they jump in the pits, then we can overtake them without battling and just manage to put some decent lap times in. I'm doing 1:27.8s on the hard tyres with no slipstream at the moment. The fastest lap time is a 1:27.7, and the delta is going down to the leader. So everything is looking pretty good. We had a dodgy start, but now we're starting to gain to the pack in front. It's 1.1 seconds, and we're starting to make some real good progress. Now we've made some really good progress there, and we get a good exit out of this last corner, and we are sat firmly in the slipstream now. This is one of my favourite moves to do coming up to this hairpin, and that is to purposely brake late or go wide and right and set up a better exit. So I brake a little bit later, I go to the right to avoid the cars that are going really slow to make that apex and avoid the other cars, and then I set up a better exit, and now I've got a really good exit speed coming down the straight. I want to point out here, if you notice, P8 Dan, who was one of the other A+ drivers, goes into the pits on hard tyres on lap 5. That is going to become very relevant later as we've set the fastest lap of the race. Now, using that overspeed, we've still managed to keep up with these cars, and we actually managed to make a move stick on P7, and we are now in P6 on lap 6. Following these cars in front, very wary that some of the other cars have jumped in the pits and are going to be on the faster tyre. So I'm doing my best to not wipe anybody out, but to go as fast as we can and make overtakes when they become readily available, all whilst thinking about the other cars that have pitted earlier and should be faster, particularly P8 at the time, Dan, thinking I don't want to let him get too far away, as we have a little bit of carnage again in front of us, maybe not some awareness there, and we get another space. Now I'm trying to get P4 to go to the inside here because I wanted to do the same move again, but unfortunately he doesn't take the bait, so we just have to sit behind him, and we're still in the slipstream, but we didn't get that overrun on him, so it's going to be harder to make the overtake, and you'll see how that happens here. Because I'm too close to get a run on him, and the Peugeot doesn't have that good a top end speed, it is more difficult to make overtakes. So you can see how that works differently if you're too close. So we are losing a bit of time. We are battling with this Mercedes. Now here, I think the Mercedes does realise that perhaps we're a little bit quicker, decides to back out, good racecraft, and allows us to come through. So we've lost a little bit of time, but we are making spaces, and now we are in P4, and we've just set the fastest first sector of the race, and we've got about 4 or 5 tenths to the car in front in the custom slipstream with decent tyre wear for lap 7. So I'm deciding what to do now. I'm aware that the other 2 cars that pitted early will have done 2 laps with the medium tyres, so perhaps they're going to be in front of us. I'm waiting to see what P3 does here. So I think I do the same thing again here. I kind of go deep right and try and focus on getting a better exit, but I'm too close. I almost took that too well, so now I'm not going to get much of an overrun. So I'm thinking, whatever this car does, I'm going to do the opposite. So he stays out and I go in the pits. At this point, I'm just keeping an eye on the track radar, the positioning, and I'm trying to see where is Dan? Where is Dan on the field? Not Danny C, there's another Dan who is the A+ driver, and I'm trying to see where he is. Has he got a big lead on us? And I'm hoping he's not too far in front, because I will have better tyres towards the end of the race. And there he goes. He is approximately, as we just fight off P8 here, who also pitted early. So we've managed to stay in front of this car, but P6, sorry, Dan, is now 2.2 seconds in front. So now we've got to chase him down and get in that slipstream, all whilst thinking about chasing down the leader, who I believe is on medium tyres, which bodes well for us. We've matched the pace pretty much on hard tyres in clean air, whilst P1 was on the mediums. So the chase is on. Me and Dan, who's in front of us, are thinking the same thing. We've got a chance of potentially winning this race, but we need to both chase down the leader and not fight too much. So, but the first thing is I need to catch up with Dan if I can. So as we fast forward 1 lap ahead, we can see we've made some good progress catching Dan up, but first and second place have just pitted on the medium tyres. I think we set our fastest lap on this lap, but then we get a bit of traffic. We were making good progress, but we just have to fight to get in front of P3, which we just managed to do, but has affected us catching Dan up. Dan manages to pull away a little bit here, and now it is a chase between the top 3. There's me and Dan in front, who are on the medium tyres. Dan is on the older medium tyre, which will be more worn, and then P1 is on the hard tyres. We've got less than 4 seconds to the leader, and we've got less than 1.5 seconds to P2. So it's going to get very interesting over these next 4 laps. All I'm concentrating on doing is trying to be as fast as I can, sit in that slipstream and wait for my opportunity to pounce. So at this point I can see that P2 is catching P1 and I am also catching P2. I can see that he's struggling with his tyres, so I use a bit of racecraft here. I could have gone for the overtake, but that would have cost us both time. I gave him a little flash of the headlights and to let him know I was going to bump draft him and not cost us both any time. You can see I brake a little bit earlier than let off to make sure I stay nice and close. I get a good drive off the final corner, and what I'm thinking about is if both me and Boost Dan can make it round P1, we can have a two-way battle for the win and I will have the tyre advantage. So I'm doing my best to help him along, and you can see because we didn't fight, I've managed to set the fastest lap again, and we're right on the back bumper of P1. That's one of the most common mistakes I see people make in daily races is not thinking ahead and just trying to go for every single overtake that presents itself to them, and inevitably they cost themselves more time by fighting rather than, you know, thinking ahead and thinking about the whole race rather than just getting in front of the next car as quickly as possible. So again, we get a nice drive off that corner. I give Boost Dan a little bit of a flash to let him know I'm going to help him out. And now we're going for a move. He's on the hard tyres, P2, soon to be P3. And all I do is think about staying nice and close to Dan, sitting in the slipstream, getting a nice exit off that corner, and there we have it. The plan has worked. We're now sat in the slipstream of Dan as I avoid it temporarily to try and get a bit of a run on him, because what I'm thinking about now is I need to get past Dan. I've got the better tyres. The time for working together has gone, and now it is a battle between the both of us. I've got the better tyre. Unfortunately, Dan does a really good job of defending that corner on the older tyres. I don't manage to make it round. And now we're stuck in the infield, the midfield, and just waiting for an opportunity to try and make it past. Now I'm going to minimise the commentary now and let the race kind of speak for itself over the next lap and a half, because it is a great battle, this. if I could just ask, if you are enjoying this race, please do hit the subscribe button and hit the like. We're on our way to 3,000 subscribers, so any help is very much appreciated. How about that for a finish? Now, I think Dan he did try taking me out just across, as we were going across the line. I think he was just messing around. But either way, what an absolutely fantastic race that was. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're here to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. What an absolute nail biter that was, but a great result. If you could do me a quick favour before you go, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and leave a comment in the comment section, maybe a snake, to let me know you stuck around to the end of the video. If you like this type of content and tips, hints and advice on how to get faster, as well as variety of challenges on the live streams, then join the snake pit and help us get to 3,000 subscribers. But until the next time, it's over and out from the Racy Snake, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.